teacher, you may have struggled before providing your students with activities that help them improve their speaking abilities. Many times it's hard enough to get them to speak. You know that sometimes students feel shy when they have to use a foreign language, or they don't feel confident sharing their own knowledge. I would dare to say that for many of you, in your own journey learning English, you have found that speaking is the most difficult skill to master. And this is no surprise. After all, speaking is a skill that requires you to understand what you're listening, recall quickly vocabulary and grammar, produce unfamiliar sounds, and on top of that, you have to say the right things. And the art of conversation is already difficult even in your own language. So what can we do to help our students develop conversational skills? We may begin by taking a look at the features that successful children and adult language learners share in contexts outside the classroom. First of all, they are exposed to language that they more or less understand, even if they cannot produce it yet themselves. Secondly, they feel motivated to learn the language that they are using. And of course, the third feature is that they have many different opportunities to use that language they are acquiring. These features of natural language acquisition are worth imitating inside our classrooms. This is where oral tasks become relevant. A task is a goal-oriented activity which has a clear purpose. The key then is to embed those principles into our oral tasks. Something that is worth mentioning here is that task completion can be highly motivating for students, and it will help them develop their self-esteem. Of course, if tasks are intrinsically enjoyable, it's even better for the engagement factor. But something that sometimes we forget is that having a conversation is not about putting grammar and vocabulary that was previously studied into practice. A conversation is a spoken interaction between two or more people who don't follow a fixed schedule. Teachers tend to be familiar with the basic units of conversation, which are exchanges, and the notions of functions. And they try to teach those things to students because they seem like more approachable pieces of language for them. However, an exchange or a series of exchanges is not the same thing as a conversation. Conversations are open-ended and have the potential to develop in any way. For this reason, we have to give students activities that will develop their ability to initiate and maintain conversations. And in this way, they will be able to go beyond the engagement in short exchanges. Now, you may have tried to carry out a more complex speaking activity in your classroom, and something that may have happened was that students didn't talk willingly and you ended up doing most of the talking. If this was your case, consider if your students were prepared for that discussion or that debate. Preparation is a vital ingredient for success. First of all, choose a topic that is interesting for them and use audiovisual aids to get them thinking about that topic, for them to start developing their own ideas. Then you can present pre-speaking exercises in which you include key vocabulary or keywords that will be used later in a task. For this, you can prepare some vocabulary beforehand but it's also a good idea to ask your students what language they will actually want to use to express their own ideas. And finally, always make sure that your instructions are as clear and as simple as possible. You can try asking a question that proves understanding. A yes-no answer to "do you understand?" is not very revealing. Now, another thing that may be helpful for you while you're in your planning stage is to take a look at William Littlewood's continuum of classroom activities that promote communicative competence. As you can see, at first we have highly controlled activities like performing memorized dialogues or repeating drills, and then we have activities that give more space for creativity and a free use of the language, for example, improvisation or a debate. We can guide students through different kinds of activities to get them closer to fluency. These activities can be classified into 3 types. First, we have controlled activities. These will help students develop confidence and to start developing their ability to participate in and maintain simple conversations. Within the classroom, it's possible to build a sense of security through the use of getting to know you activities that promote trust among classmates, and you can also work with articulation activities that give them the opportunity to use English sounds in a safe environment. For example, you can give them an audio that they will listen on their own for them to practice the sounds they hear, and later they will tell you one utterance that they chose. Then we have awareness activities. These activities can be used from the earliest stages of learning. Students need to be aware of what native speakers do in real conversations. For this, we can prepare observation tasks that include a list with different factors that they will mark if they are present in an audio or a videotape that you give them or a real conversation that they hear. These activities will promote their ability to understand what they are listening, become aware of what is appropriate during conversations, and it will help them develop strategies to further conversations. Other activities you can include are those that help them sound English by driving their attention to topics like weak forms, intonation, rhythm, and pronunciation. Remember that lengthy but infrequent attention to these issues is less effective than short tasks that are built into the overall teaching program. And once you've worked on these previous types of activities, you can introduce fluency activities. These are the ones in which the interlocutor will not wait for them to say the right or appropriate answer. In that sense, students will be speaking in real time, and they will have the opportunity to express their feelings and points of view in a more creative and authentic manner. Now, introducing fluency activities to a classroom may require an element of learner training. This is because students may feel that the burden is placed on them, as they are the ones that need to initiate and determine what is going to be said, while the teacher is keeping a lower profile throughout the activity. Remember that as the teacher, you should take notes to give feedback to your students, but never interrupt a discussion because you're going to cut that flow of the activity. Now, a final comment related to feedback that I want to add is that the different areas in which you should give this feedback include grammar, pronunciation, the appropriacy of vocabulary and expressions, fluency, and the non-linguistic factors that affect communication. That being said, your feedback has to be staged and selective if you want to avoid demoralizing students. This brings me to the end of my presentation. To summarize my main points, let's remember that successful language learners are those who feel motivated to interact with the language. They repeatedly encounter comprehensible input, and they complete tasks that drive them to use any and all the language that is at their command. Teachers, on the other hand, have to consider the different aspects of spoken English and transform them into tasks that will cultivate their communicative competence. For this, we will plan and arrange for controlled activities that will help students develop their ability to participate in safe environments, awareness activities in which they will see what really happens in real conversations, and once we've worked on those, we can introduce fluency activities. Here they will use English in real time in a more creative and authentic way. With these principles in mind, my aim is to encourage you to go and create your own communicative activities that help your students realize that there are many things that can be learned when it comes to spoken English and many ways to do it. It's not all about drills or repeating memorized dialogues or engaging in short exchanges. While we do our best to provide the necessary scaffolding for them to get closer to fluency, let's also remind them that they can tell us what they think works for them, what motivates them, what language they would like to encounter and use, and in which kind of situation. That's all I have for today. Thank you for your attention.